Okay, so it's finally happened. The proverbial shizzy has hit the fizzy and you are on the road. You are bugging out. You are being pursued by a band of bloodthirsty, ravenous, marauding cannibals, or worse, all-American prepper and his good old boyfriends. The problem is, you did not take the advice of the Canadian prepper when he told you to keep your gas tank above half a tank at all times minimum. After being pursued for about a half an hour through the wasteland, you look down and you notice that the range on your vehicle is now at 0. You are at an empty fuel tank and your car is telling you you can't go any further. How far can you go when your fuel gauge goes below 0? Let's talk about it. So I figured out something about my 2019 Toyota Tundra that a lot of you need to look into with respect to your own vehicle as well. For the longest time, I've been gassing up and I've been wondering why I've never been able to achieve the full 38 gallons that this thing can carry at the gas pump. Meaning if I was traveling on the highway and I got below E, I could only ever seem to stuff about 30 gallons of gasoline in there, even though I know the tank holds 38 gallons of gas. Well, I looked online, and apparently because the gas tank in this vehicle is so big, the actual sensor that measures the amount of gas in the tank, because there's a larger surface area, the amount is actually lower to the bottom, so the sensor can't actually pick up how much fuel is in the tank. This means that I can actually travel much further. Even though on my fuel gauge it'll tell me I have 0 kilometer range, the reality is I damn near still have a quarter tank's worth of gas in the tank. This could potentially be game-changing information if it came to an evacuation or a survival scenario where I needed to know how much ground I could cover on the tank of gas that I currently have. Knowing your vehicle's capability and how far you can travel is absolutely important. All right, so as you can see, it's telling me that I now need to refuel. Now, as much as I appreciate the fact that it doesn't want me stranded out there in the middle of nowhere, I think it's a little excessive if the rumors are true that I can still drive 150 kilometers potentially. Let's say there's an evac situation going on. For whatever reason, something's coming, something's inbound to your city or to your locale, and you need to get the hell out of Dodge quick. But you're left with a bit of a dilemma. You know you have a little bit of gas in the tank, but you don't know how much gas you have left in the tank. If the situation is just about, I need to get as far away from a city center as possible quickly, there may be a time when you just have to bail out quick. But if you can only make it 5 kilometers down the road, that's information you want to know. Or if you are being pursued, and I'm not talking about pursued by the law, in that case you should probably pull over and stop so you don't go to jail for an even longer period of time, all right? You don't know how much gas they have in their vehicle, but let's say you even start off with a full tank of gas. It still serves you well to know what your true range of your vehicle is going to be. Now, they say on average most vehicles have about 2.5 gallons of gasoline in the tank after you cross the empty mark. That's really good information to know. But it's really important to know the specific capabilities of your vehicle, because that could vary greatly from vehicle to vehicle. Now, there is this chart which shows you how much gasoline you have left in your vehicle, and I'll post a link to that down below. But there's also other things that you need to keep in mind, okay? You need to keep in mind, what kind of driving are you doing? How fast are you going? Are you off-road? Are you on-road? Are you driving into an extreme headwind? Because driving into a headwind is going to take a lot more gasoline. Are you going uphill, downhill? Are you doing a lot of driving where you're accelerating and decelerating, like in an urban center? Now, if you guys didn't know, there's a group of people called hyper-milers. And what they try to do is they try to maximize the fuel efficiency of a vehicle by employing various driving techniques that are going to allow them to drive the furthest on a tank of gas. Now, the world record supposedly is 1,626 miles on one tank of gas. And I believe that was done in a Volkswagen. In addition to knowing how much gas you have left, also employing some of these driving techniques will certainly come in handy in allowing you to maximize your fuel efficiency. Okay, so right now we're literally keeping it 100. We're doing 100 kilometers an hour. We use kilometers here in Canada because the metric system is superior, at least for a grid up situation. There's arguments to be made that the imperial system, it's funny that that's the only thing that the US has retained from the British Empire is the imperial system. What's up with that? But some people would make the argument, sidebar, that feet, inches, and things which are biometric to an extent are going to be more useful, or a more useful form of measurement in a grid down emergency, because it's a more primitive emphasis on more primitive way of measuring things. But I just wanted to start a fight in the comment section about that. So if you're wondering, the gas canisters that I'm using are the Scepter NATO 5-gallon canisters. They're military grade, very thick, very durable. I'm also using an SXMA fuel canister, which I like because of the fact that it's a flat form factor. I can mount it to the rack on the top of my truck, or on the side of the truck for that matter. It's very much like a Rotopax, only they're built far, far more durable. So I'll post links to those in the description below. All right, guys, I made a boneheaded mistake. I forgot to reset the odometer before starting this test. We're just gonna have to add on the 40 kilometers or whatever we've driven so far in order to get the total distance driven. Okay, so in order for this test to somewhat approximate a real life scenario, one in which I may have to be bombing down the back roads, it's only appropriate that we actually run some of the tests on gravel roads. So we're going to be driving in part on gravel. That way people can't just say, oh, well, you just did the test on a nice, perfect highway. No, we're actually going to run the test on gravel as well. All right, so we're heading back on the highway. As you can see here, we got 39 kilometers plus the 40 or 50, I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, that we had before we started the trip. So that's looking pretty good. I think it's time to go back home, because if this thing can get me all the way back home right now, I would be very, very impressed. So let's get to it. So all those times that I was nervous and I was worried that I was going to run out of gas after I was over E, and am I going to be able to make it home? Now I can sleep easy knowing that there's nothing to worry about. That I can run this sucker for literally over 100 kilometers, okay, before it stops. Now, it seems like right now it's fighting. We're getting a little bit of sputter right now. I don't know how good this is for the engine, but I think right now it's starting to struggle a little bit, so we're going to see. Now, you still want to always keep your fuel tank topped up. Okay, gas is going to be good for many, many things in an emergency. Not only to get you out of Dodge, but let's say it's winter time, okay, and you need to keep yourself warm in a vehicle. Your car has enough gas in it to idle for days. Most vehicles can idle for days. So that car can keep you warm for a long time. Obviously, if you're using the heater, it's going to be a little less. You can charge your electronics. You can use it as a shelter from the elements. Cars are just amazing things. They're like civilization on wheels. Now, I'm assuming that in wintertime, gas mileage is going to be slightly worse. So that's going to be something to keep in mind. If you're running that heater full bore and it's really cold outside, the engine may have to work a little bit harder. I'm not sure what sort of wind resistance. I know it certainly is windy out today. It's certainly not ideal conditions. So in that respect, I don't think we had a tailwind, but we didn't particularly have a headwind either. Now, in today's testing, it was pretty windy also, and we were going every which way. So we were hitting some of that wind in some places, and then some of it was behind our back in others. But windage is certainly going to be a factor. All right, guys, so at the 96.8 kilometer mark, plus the 40 or 50 kilometers that we put on before this, so there's the final odometer reading. I'd say that's pretty good. That's damn near 150 kilometers that we were able to travel after empty. So if you own a 2019 Tundra, you can rest assured that if it goes below E, you are still going to be driving for a long, long, long time, baby.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, your one-stop shop for premium, high-quality, brand-name products that have been tried and tested by myself and other YouTube gear reviewers. My subscribers save 10% off by using the coupon code SURVIVALPREPPER. All one word in all caps.